Welcome to Hello Self. It's a podcast focused on turning your can'ts into cans and your dreams into plans. I am your host, coach, and author, Patricia Leonard. Okay, ladies and gentlemen of the Hello Self podcast. Anyway, you know me. I'm your host, Patricia Leonard. And if you've forgotten, our mission is about turning your can'ts into cans and your dreams into plans. Our whole goal is, I believe, in other stories, there are many gifts and lots of glories. We will have a great podcast today that you're going to enjoy a lot. I've already talked their legs off just getting to know them. I was introduced to Juan and Grant by a friend and said, Patricia, you've got to meet these two filmmakers and dreamers that'll help you engage in maybe some of your dreams, even if it's not the same as my two guests have. So like always, I will read a short bio, and then I'm going to turn it over to Juan, and I'll tell you more about that name, but Juan and Grant as we go through this. And they'll tell you more too, because they're going to tell you the real story. I'm just going to read the bio. Okay, so thank you all for being here and see what their stories tell you about yourself and the dreams that you may have. So I'll start with one, Eleazar. So I don't speak Spanish, so I told him I'd stumble all over his name. But anyway, he likes to go by Juan, and Carlo, I call him Carlos, but he says he likes to be called Juan, so we're going to honor that. He is a young Filipino immigrant trained in martial arts. Oh, and I saw one of their films. He's fabulous. Who moved to the United States 3 years ago. Since then, he has been pursuing work as a stuntsman in fight choreography and is planning to pursue an education in kinesiology and health sciences. Interesting. He has also published his first book at 13 years old when he started at 8 years old. And it's called The Power to Learn. What an 8-year-old boy learned early in life. And so those are the things that it reminds me of my grandson, one who I approached him when he was 6 years old. And I said, Gavin, I'm not going to buy you a Christmas gift. I want you to do something else. And he said, what's that, Mom, Pat? And I said, I want you to write a book. Oh, I can't do that. I'm only 6 years old. That's for adults. And I said, don't ever tell me you can't. So now he has a book out on Amazon called Gavin's The Story of His Life or something like that. But at 6 years old, he's a published author. So God bless you for getting out there and living your life from any age. Don't let age ever get in the way. And I'm saying this to the audience too. If one can do that, you can do it. So I'm going to introduce both of them, and then we'll take it from there for them to share with you. Now, Grant Rosado, did I say that okay?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, thank you. Is a Cuban Bosnian filmmaker born in Texas and raised around North America. He is a graduate from Emerson College with degrees in film production and marketing. He has led companies. Listen to all these things these young people have done, these young men here. Charities and multiple movie projects. And I did look at one. It's interesting. He also has a passion for history and communications. He is one half of the creative duo, the Rowe Brothers.
Yes, but we'll get into that, I guess.
Yeah, why don't you just take it from there, Grant, and then we'll switch over to Carlo or to Juan too. But tell them the real story, Grant.
Oh, sure. Okay. So I was born in Texas. Okay. It's a pretty cool story. So my mother
Yeah,
is from Bosnia. My father's from Cuba. They met in Kentucky. I was born in Texas. And then we moved all over the place. We moved from Texas to Chicago to Virginia to Canada, back to Virginia, back to Texas. Then I studied film in Boston. I shot my first film in Savannah. I shot my next film in Miami, and now I'm in LA. So it's a pretty jumping all over the place type of story. It's a lot of fun. I guess the whole story, I guess I started let's start with the first movie. So I went to Emerson College. I went to Emerson College in Boston, and in film production, going to college, you just wandered around getting to know people. And then I met my roommate. My roommate was a guy named Chris Rodriguez. We kind of had similar ambitions. And we were, okay, let's make a movie. How are we going to do this? And we are like, how are we going to we both wanted to make a feature film. We both wanted to make a movie. We just didn't really know how. And then the pandemic hit in like 2020. So we flew to Savannah, and we were just stuck there. We were doing like film production classes online. And we were just like, we're just like getting online film production classes. We're just like, what are we doing, dude? Like, we gotta figure something out. So we decided we're gonna make our first movie. We made it for nothing, just in the house we were in. We just got all our friends from college. We called them up, hey, come on down, come to this house. We'll make a movie. It was called "'Twas the Night." It's on Tubi right now. It's not very good. My next film, my following film is much better, but it's on Tubi right now. We made it for like nothing. It was just like a bunch of people in Savannah. We brought them all together. We shot it just all in one house. And it's about these in-laws. These in-laws are having their parents over for dinner, but they accidentally kill Santa Claus and they have to hide his body. And then they have to hide. They're like shuffling the body around the house and stuff, and then they have to hide it from the in-laws. It turns out okay. They don't actually. Santa comes alive at the end. It's like Christmas magic.
That's how you begin, though, isn't it?
Yeah, thanks. So we made that. We made that, and then we just, all right, we have a movie. What do we do now? We just started sending emails to like all. We
I
sent
love this.
Yeah, we just sent out like mass blasted emails to like a bunch of people in the industry. We got picked up for distribution by Vertical Entertainment, and then they put it on Tubi. And then from that, because we were super young Hispanics, we had a movie on Tubi, and then we're like, what do we do from here? And how do we turn this into our next movie? We took the money, we took the Tubi, we took the fact that we were on Tubi, we took the fact that we were young, and we started emailing a bunch of journalists. And then because of that, we got a write-up in the Golden Globes. You can look it up. It's like Grant Rosado, Chris Rodriguez, Latino filmmakers. And they wrote about how we made a movie with no money at such a young age. No movie at such a young age. And then also that we were Hispanics, and they just blasted it out. And then because of that article we had written about us, we were able, long story short, because we had that article written about us, we were able to get a little bit of money for our next movie that we shot in Miami. And that is when I found 1C here. That is when 1C enters our story. So we got a bunch of money for our next movie, and we were putting it together, and we were like, we needed some samurai for a scene. And we're like, where are we gonna find a samurai in Miami? And we were just walking through a park, basically. And then we just found the 1C spinning a lightsaber around in a park. And we were like, that's a samurai. And we ran over to him, we talked to him, we put him in the movie. Do you want to pick it up from there?
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, we took things from there. We made a fight scene in a matter of 3 days, 3 rehearsals. We shot it, and then we did multiple scenes, one in a Japanese garden museum, one in a dance room, so it was all blacked out, and then one all the way in farmlands in Hialeah in the scorching sun. But it was a lot of fun working on stuff like that and just doing one-on-one fights. And from there, we finished the film, and then things moved on. And then after the film was done, we were working on our own thing from there.
Oh,
Yeah, you two talk more about your background there.
Yes. And then shall I move on to a little bit about where I come from and stuff like that?
yeah, just a moment, though. I want to highlight a couple of things here.
For sure.
Because for my audience, I don't want them to just listen to the story. I do want them to hear the story, but I want them to hear the lessons you are giving by living your story. So
Okay.
the very first thing that you started talking about is you didn't know what to do, but that didn't stop you. And it's very
100%.
important, yes, that we don't always know. We don't even know what our talents are. And so look what they've already shared with you. We just know that we have an interest, and we just stumble around and everything starts to fall in place. I love the fact that you traveled and saw others. So people sometimes have to get out of their own little comfort zone to see that there's a bigger world. It doesn't even always have to be about travel. Sometimes it can be just like you were saying, you put this out there on all kinds of sites and people say,
Yeah.
yeah. And you started marketing yourself. You didn't even know how to market, but you did it. You just did it by sharing. And so I think this no money, and I like this too. You didn't have $1 million because people say, if I had the money, I would do that. Or they're just lucky. You've heard these excuses before.
We have, yeah.
But that's what I'm hearing, that I want the audience to be sure that they pick up from you guys, that you didn't have all of that. You had a dream and you had some talents you were going to build on, but it wasn't necessarily filmmaking at that time. And you still have broad interests. We just don't have to say all I'm going to be is a filmmaker or all. No, you guys have others. Okay. 1C, take it from there about where you came from and who you are, a little bit about yourself. Grant, that was perfect. I love that.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, I go by, as you can tell, I go by multiple names: Carlos, 1C1, and a bit of an explanation on that.
Yes,
my
good.
name is Juan Carlos, not Juan Carlos. Juan Carlos. It was supposed to be Juan Carlos, but then my dad saw a parking lot sign that said 1C, and then my mom's sister asked him, "What's his name gonna be when I'm born?" And he knew he was gonna say Juan Carlos. But then he turned around and he saw the parking lot sign in the Philippines in a mall, and he said, "I'm gonna name him that. I'm gonna name him after this parking lot sign." And so now I walk around sounding like I came from an assembly line and implying there's a lot more versions of me out there somewhere. But yes, that's where my name comes from. Nowadays, I just introduce myself as one, as I just out of personal preference. And then yes, as mentioned before, I'm not exactly from this country. I moved to the United States 3 years ago, all the way from the Philippines. There wasn't a need for it or necessity out of it or a sense of desperation. It was just more of a desire to leave home behind and just find something that I could own, in the sense of experience, in the sense of putting myself out there, so that when I eventually do go back, I can do what I can to do something positive for my country with the experience I've garnered from another country.
Yeah.
I was petitioned to become a citizen, not a citizen, but be a resident here in the United States by my mother. And then what was beautiful about that was, after 10 years of being apart, because my parents are apart, that would have been the first time that we got to live in the same roof all again. It was just a beautiful 2 years, just being with my mother like that. And then, so that's where I come from and how I came to the US. But when it comes to my background, how I got into filmmaking, I don't exactly come from a filmmaking background. I came from a martial arts background. Back home in the Philippines, I just picked up a lightsaber one day from Toys R Us, from a toy store, and I just started swinging it. And eventually, out of pure passion, I upgraded to a film grade lightsaber that they use for movies. Made out of metal, blade made out of ride shield material, so you can really make impacts. And from there, my dad would start showing me off in his province, showing, "This is my son, look right here." And his cousin told him, "Hey, reach out to our buddy, Ruel Gatbaton, or Gatsby, who happens to be a grandmaster of a school there." And so he saw me and he said, "Bring him over and let's train together." So I trained with him, formally trained in Filipino martial arts for 5-6 years until the pandemic hit, which is when training had to stop.
Yes.
And then from there, from those 5-6 years, I just trained all my life. This was pretty much, I started when I was 14. So I started in about junior high,
Mhm.
middle school, and now at this point in my life, it's going to be a full 10 years of training in martial arts, especially in weapons. And yeah, I was born and raised in the Philippines, trained as a competitive athlete fighter there. And then when I got here to the US, I started transitioning more into filmmaking and started training for stunts, fight choreography, and fight performances.
Yeah. How does this kinesiology and health sciences fit into what you're?
Excellent question. Excellent question. My parents say the same thing. They wanted me to pursue an education, and of course, I wanted to do the same thing. But my question was, how do I pursue an education that supports what I do from in all aspects? So by pursuing kinesiology and health sciences, the subject matter like human anatomy, human biology, I get a deeper insight on how to articulate my actions towards my actors. Because when you're a director and you're directing acting, you can tell your actors what to feel, what they're supposed to say. But when you're doing fight choreography, I can't just tell you to just punch this guy. We need to make it look good on camera. So I'd have to tell them what I want them to articulate in their bodies. I want you to activate your shoulder blade. I want you to contract your abdominal muscles so it sells the acting. And that's just for the acting side. And it even goes beyond that. It goes down to also health maintenance, because as a fight choreographer, you live and train like an athlete. So you got to know how to take care of yourself. You have to know how to feed yourself. And then there's also, of course, the financial situation of if there's another strike that happens, I could always take time off and work at a gym and still do exactly what I want to do, just for a different objective.
This is bizarre. I believe in this. I'm all about fitness and I'm all about taking care of the body. However, one of the things that I wanted to highlight here, and you guys might want to connect with him at some time, I interviewed a person, a filmmaker from Texas. And it's funny because I interviewed him on my podcast, so you could look back at my podcast and see him. But he was telling me that he is now a chiropractor.
Oh, wow.
He's a filmmaker, but he also got his license in chiropractic. And I said, what is that got to do? And he said the same thing, one that you were talking about, is that getting in touch with it's just not like playing a role. It's getting in touch with every aspect of your soul and physical body that incorporate that. So I love that a lot. He's going to really enjoy, you guys will really enjoy talking to each other, because I think that's what he and his wife are about. Now, they've been filmmakers for 10 or 12 years, but then he recently got his chiropractic license. And we think that in our society, and this is what I appreciate about other cultures, in our society, we get stuck in traditional thinking, or this is how I view it, and we just stay there. You know what but everything is connected, isn't it? Everything.
Yeah. 100%.
Yes. And we don't see that a lot of time. I mean, we don't think about it. And that's why I'm giving up my podcast, because I want to go into more speaking about that, because I just had a meeting with a woman yesterday and it was all about she's out of touch with who she is. That's all it is, at the spiritual, mental, physical, and emotional levels. And I think our society, that's why I love young people, because I think in general, our society has lost touch. And it's funny because one of my best friends, C1 or 1C, is a Filipino. We've been friends for 20 years. She lives in Michigan, but I've never met her. We've only been, this is true. We've been friends by phone for 20 years. And I helped her when she was going through college, because she had come here to the United States. And so she would say, Patricia, is this paper good? And it's amazing the connections that we make when we spread out who we are in acting, in the health sciences, in anything that we're doing, the things that we bring from our other country, your business sense, Grant, is so wise in all of this. And the fact
Oh,
that
thank you.
yeah, had nonprofits and the movie, it's all connected, but we don't see that. Oh my God, this is so great. I love this. And the things that you were sharing with people, 1C, is that you too had a desire to come here and experience more. And I love the fact that your family, I love the fact that your father gave you an unusual name, because you know what that gives you the opportunity to do is to share more. Because when you, yes, because anything that we have is a little unique. I mean, if you introduce yourself, I'm a director of this, you get in that hole, or I'm the manager of this business, you get put in that hole. There ain't no way anybody can put you guys in a hole because you expand out to all. I love this. Okay, one more thing that I want is, and you suggested this, and I like this a lot. Where are you currently in your careers right now? Grant, where are you currently?
We're in the same spot in terms of a project. Okay, so what happened? So after I met, I guess picking up from where we left, after I met
Yeah.
1C, we met I met 1C, we put him in. So the movie I made in Miami is called Puffing Iron. It's about
Yeah, I
stoners who
loved it.
become, thank you. It's about stoners who become power lifters. Shot it over a course of, so it was 3 months. We shot the first half of the movie, and they were like, they look like stoners. They're super skinny and they're like,
Very pudgy.
yeah. And then we took a
Exactly.
we took a 3 month break. They exercised a bunch, they worked out, and they got like fit, and then we shot the second half of the movie. And it's that 3 month gap of when they were working out is when I met 1C in the park, and we had them put together a samurai fight scene because in the movie in the beginning they're watching an old samurai movie. And so 1C put together a fight scene along with another martial artist we found in Miami. And I saw like there was like what's really astounding is we went to go shoot the scene, and him and the other martial artist, like we had to make changes to the choreography, and they did it like on the spot like that. And it's like a level of talent that I've never really seen before. And when I was watching that, people were like coming up to me. They were like coming up to me during the shoot and be like, "Yo, this is like I've never seen anything like this." And and like this is like true talent. And I was like, you know what? I think I know what my next movie is gonna be. So we finished Puffing Iron. It premiered at the Miami Film Festival. It got picked up for distribution by Industry Works. Still deciding a release date, but it got picked up for distribution. And after that wrapped up, I went to 1C and I was like, "Hey, listen, you have a very good sort of Keanu Reeves vibes about you, and you're like a really talented martial artist, and I want to put that. I think that I want to put that on camera. I think that's something people will be really excited to see." So we just started workshopping our next project together. I have a bit more. I have experience. I've made like 2 different movies, so I'm guiding them through the process a little more. We started putting together the script. We've started putting together the script. I was writing the script while he did the choreography. So I was writing with a pen and he was writing with his sticks.
Yeah.
I like to say.
Move that way, move that way.
Yeah. So we start putting all that together. And then where we are right now with the project is we're like going out, we're talking to actors, we're getting them excited about the project, and we're putting together a Kickstarter for the project that's going to go live next month, like mid-March. And we put together when we put together a fight scene for it, like we went and we shot something. Do you want to talk about the Miami shoot?
Yes,
Yeah.
for sure. So yes, we shot a fight scene, but the director was involved in the rehearsals remotely. What I mean by that is me and the other martial artist, we call him Seahawk, but his name is Seahawk Park. We trained together for 3 months, just putting together the fight scene. And because there was the dilemma of us being in Miami, him being in LA,
Yeah.
how are we gonna do this? How are we gonna figure out the shot list and everything? So we developed a methodology where we do a one-take fight scene, but just move slowly and carefully. But we set up 4 different camera angles on our phones. We send it over to him, and then from there, Grant, the director, he would pretty much get a PowerPoint presentation, move pieces around together, and make a shot list, color coding each angle, and then explaining from this angle we're going to shoot here, from this angle we'll shoot there. And then when we all met together in one day in early 2024, January, we just showed up on set, flowed through the whole fight scene, and shot it like as if we had been rehearsing it more than once.
Yeah,
A lot of it was done on cell phones.
What happened was we were talking about the new movie is called 8RX.
Yeah.
And it's about two cops who go undercover in a pharmaceutical company. That's like the log line. And so we were talking about the script. We were like, we need to put together like a previs, a proof of concept, a teaser, so people know
Yes.
they know what the draw of the movie is, seeing these really impressive martial artists fighting, like The Raid is something, or like one of those old Jackie Chan movies, the fight scenes. And the only problem is when we were doing that, he was in Miami and I was in Los Angeles, and we're like, let's put together a fight scene and film it. But how in the world? I was like, we couldn't even figure out like how. We're literally like 1,000 miles apart.
Exactly.
So he put together the scene and he filmed it with cameras. And then I watched the cameras and I was like, okay, when I fly there for the shoot, I'm going to put the camera here. We're going to put the camera there. We're going to do this, do that. And I had like Google Docs worksheet where I would have a picture of the camera and I was like, okay, it's going to move like up and down like this. Then I dragged it up and down. And then when I when I flew down to Miami to film it, we had it all planned out and it came out very well. You watched it.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. It's not for public viewing yet. It's going to go live with the Kickstarter next month, mid-March. It's going to go live with the Kickstarter. But that's what we're building around. We're making like little social media content right now, just like us in our office preparing the movie, putting together the script, putting together the shot list, and just like funny skits and stuff to get people interested. What are these guys doing? And then that fight scene that we filmed that you watch, we're going to post it next month with the Kick. So that's the whole sort of package. But yeah, originally it was done. Originally we did set up 4 cell phones to figure out how we're going to do this, like across the country.
That is amazing.
Thank you.
You know what I think is interesting? Remember how much it used to cost if you went to LA and got all these people, and it takes millions of dollars, and now people are making movies. And I had a friend, I was working with women in film and television at that time on the board. And she said, I want to show you a film I'm doing. We met at Panera at lunch, and all she had was her laptop. And I said, where is it? And she said, here, I'll show you. So she got every bit of that movie was shot with her cell phone and 4 other women. Yes, it was amazing. And I was blown away. That was my first understanding. I'm old as dirt, so I don't understand technology. But I was blown away, and she got recognized just like you guys are with her movie. So I think we got changing times, and what I love, not only changing times in technology, but changing times in the minds of young people, just stepping out, not having everything that some agent said you have to have. You just go after it. This is fabulous. Yeah, that's right. Carlos, 1. Yeah, 1C. But we just have to step out because we'll never do anything. And the younger generation is better about that. Yeah. Okay. I see BRX behind you right there, but I've got more. But what's that for?
Oh, that's 8RX. That's the movie that we're making.
Oh, I'm sorry. I knew that was 8RX.
Yeah, that's the logo for our short film that you watched.
And it's a little bit of promotion, huh?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. I mean, yes, exactly.
So what we've been talking about, they've got it right behind you. So they take every opportunity. And this is another thing for all of you listeners. Take every opportunity, put it on a t-shirt, and then somebody will ask, what's that? But you don't have to have a big marketing budget sometimes. I'm not saying that doesn't help, but one of the ways that we're finding out through both of these young men is that there's ways that you can do it right there. Here we are talking, and it's right behind. Okay.
Breathing down our
What's,
backs.
yes, right. What's next in your career for you guys?
I would say that like running this Kickstarter is what, and preparing, putting this film together is basically, and then Puff and Iron is going to release soon, midsummer. So I would say working on this next movie is definitely what's next. I mean, it's just a grueling process. Well, not grueling, but
No?
it's just preparing it. And so, like, for example, like I just finished the shot list, which basically is just like, you have to go through the script and you have to figure out exactly for every scene how many different camera angles you're gonna need of the scene, and like typing it out. Okay, we're gonna get this camera angle on a tripod. This is what's gonna happen. This is the dialogue that's gonna be said in that angle. If the camera's gonna move, okay, we're gonna dolly right when we say this. We're gonna, or move the camera right, or we're gonna tilt up when we say that. We're gonna do this, and and this is what props are gonna need to be in that shot. These are the costumes. And you just have to go through the entire script and just
Put the
literally write
details
out.
down.
Yeah. You have to write out every single line. So it's a lot of that preparation work that we're doing right now. Do you want to talk about? And then once he's basically doing the same thing, but for the fight scenes in the movie. Do you want to talk about the previs?
Yeah, so
The movement kind of stuff, is that
the
what?
choreography, all the fight
Choreography,
scenes.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
because we are pretty much, there's a whole lot of fight scenes that are happening in this film. So there is a lot, as you could say, a lot of stuff on my plate. And
Oh, yes.
being a fight choreographer, being a stunt coordinator, you are playing 4D chess. You're not just thinking of the character that has to act, but you're thinking of the whole ensemble that has to not only fight, engage with the main character, but also dance around them. How do they react? How do they look for an opening, or how do they interact with their environment? A lot of the process of what we're doing is, I guess, my personal process, because I just moved to LA. I didn't have that many connections. So the very first thing I started was just simply reading the script and thinking exactly of how it would move. At least start from there. In fact, I got chess pieces to simulate people, so I can help put an image in my mind. Okay, so this person's gonna be here, this person's gonna be here, and he's gonna move here, fight two other people, move on to the next thing. And then I use dominoes to represent a room, to represent furniture. And then once I was done with that, I moved on to making demo shots of just doing basic moves on my own. And then because you can't really stop there, you actually have to test out how it feels in the body. I moved on to just putting out a call sheet, letting people know, hey, I just need extra hands to help me develop it further, at least come to a basic idea so we can build it up from there. So we did that, made the basic idea. So the next step right now is to real hammer on the anvil work of just, we have the metal. So now it's just a matter of really forging it out and refining it from there.
And you know what you two have just made me so aware of, that you said use a chessboard. I mean, there's a lot of ways that you create these things in your mind, isn't it? And I think this is excellent for the people listening. Hey, you should do a class on this. Because I think these kind of things are the things that people don't often think. And another point that you brought out, if you're going to do this, you have to make a commitment and take action. Sometimes it's, I don't want to do this writing and all this stuff. And I mean, I'm sure you get to that point sometimes because you're ready for the production in your mind, and yet you got to do all these nitty gritties. And I think that's where sometimes people get bogged down, is not taking the commitment, just like you said, the movement, because you included me in your movement of those people, because I was all over watching that. I mean, every time they do a flip or kick each other, I go, oh no, because and so not only are you moving the actors and the characters, but I think this also impacts the viewers, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm sorry, you got cut off for a second. Could you repeat that?
You were talking about you have to create, both of you, the lines and the choreography. But you're thinking, here's where the actors are, here's what they're saying. But also, does that involve your thinking about the viewer and what their experience would be?
Oh yes, definitely. I guess when it comes to lines, would you like to answer when it comes to lines and lines of the choreography, how the thought process behind how the viewer takes it?
That's an interesting question. I would say, I mean, for me, it's more about, honestly, for me, I would say it's more about the characters and what, like, for me, I feel like if you build it from the base first of the characters and the story, the audience will connect to it. I think if you're honest just from yourself and from what is this character actually going to do in the script, that's what I think the audience would best connect to the story. I think if you try to do it from the other way, be like, oh, what do people want to see? What are people, looking for? I feel like it might come across a little bit more like glued together. I don't want to say fake, but like just a kind of little plastic. But I think if you write it from an honest place and you're like, this is what I think is best, this is what I think the characters are going to be, and you just, because there's a lot of people out there that are just like you. So if you just honestly express yourself, I think plenty of other people will connect to it.
Yeah.
I think people get in trouble when they're like, oh, I'm gonna do this. People really want this, so I'm gonna have this. The people really want that, and then people really want this, and then you just kind of glue it together, and it just comes across as just. It just comes across as, yeah,
Artificial and
artificial. I think if you're honest with yourself,
Yeah, but you
That's
know
the best.
what? I think that I don't know if you guys consciously do this, but I fall in love with characters and I get mad at characters. And to me,
Yeah.
that is an audience participation in this. So I don't know if you consider that when you're doing this kind of thing together. What kind of character am I creating here? And yes, not everybody's going to fall in love. Some like the mean character, some like but I just wondered because I know that I can go in a movie and I can come out mad at somebody in that movie.
I guess that's where it comes down to the foundational work. You don't just start writing off the bat. It comes off
No.
with you start with the idea of what's your thesis, what's the point you want to say,
Yeah.
what's the story you want to tell. And fight
Yeah.
choreography very much follows that direction. If we can think of a very relatable example, let's think of Star Wars, Darth Vader versus Luke Skywalker. If you see the way they both stand or the way they both fight, there's a clear, distinct picture. Darth Vader, this towering presence, just overshadowing, looking like a very tall shadow with this menacing aura, while you have Luke Skywalker, more on the naive young
Gentle.
side,
Yeah.
a little jittery, keeps that distance and tries to square up to him. And clearly, you can tell just from the way they stand and the way they strike, you tell very two different characters,
Yes.
authentic to who they were.
Yes.
And that was authentic to the story.
And not creating them as, but I see what Grant's saying. But yes, you're touching with my question right there, is because I know that I've come out of a movie and somebody would be with me and we would have two different opinions of those characters. And I think that's how it relates to us as individual human beings. That's why we connect to different kind of films. I personally like films that have more humanistic kind of aspects to them.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
So-
that's like the importance of arts in our society. It's if the sciences, if the STEM fields help with infrastructure, with the future of humanity, feeding it, things like that, there's still the question of addressing what we do in our survival. Once we get out of our rough spots, once we maintain a level of consistency, decency, there's a question of what do we do from here? And
Yeah.
that's where the arts engages you with your consciousness, with your ability to just be human.
Oh, this interview, to me, I could talk all day, but I know we're going to have to, because you guys got a life too, and so have I. But as we start to, first of all, I like this interview so much because it's really about the society that we're all in right now. It is really waking up. I think, now I'm not talking about the woke society. I'm talking about people waking up to the aspects of who we are. What you've been talking about, the emotional, spiritual, yeah. And so I like the fact that you touched on that today, because I think for people that are getting out there, young people like you and older people too that have been doing this, it's because I think you'll want to go on my Hello Self podcast, because there's many people on there right now that are running through my mind to say, oh my gosh, I want to make sure that you connect with these people, not because you're doing the same thing, because I think you can learn from each other. And I don't know, I just like, I think not a supportive community, but a community of thinkers that have similar kind of goals in life can really enhance the other, just like you two have. I love this. You two, and Grant, I like one thing about you two is that
Thank you.
you talk. Well, I mean, I like lots of things, but I like you started out and then you were conscious of your partner. You are a partnership here. And then you said, okay, 1C, take it from there. And I like that. That's what we need in our society. Too many people want to take up, I did this, you know what I'm talking about. And I really like that about you two individuals. And I wanted to make sure our people saw that transition because it involves both of you, and one of you alone is not as great as the two of you together. So I really like that a lot. So anyway, okay, is there one thing that you would like? Thank you so much. Oh my God. I don't know if they'll like it, but I love it.
No, we loved it as well. Thank you for having me.
I know they will like it. I know, because the honesty and the real people you are that have come through this. Is there one thing that you would like to say to our audience who have dreams similar to yours as we close this out?
I would say be honest with yourself. I would say be honest with yourself. Trust who you are. Just because something doesn't work out right away doesn't mean it's not.
Oh, that's a great point.
I just think a little bit of just, if you really love something and if you're really struggling to see something through, it may just be that it's not for you, and there's no problem with that. You go out and you can find something else that you love. And when something like that really clicks, I mean, you'll know, and you will. And as long as you have the patience to let it find you and be welcoming to it, I think you'll be good. You'll be good to go. I mean, I was lucky. I found it early, and I think 1C would say he's lucky too. I loved filmmaking from a young age. He loved martial arts from a young age. We're a pretty good matchup, but it doesn't always happen because that doesn't always happen for people. My brother took a while for him to found it. It took him like all the way through college.
Yeah.
But now he's doing blood work and he just really loves it. But I mean, it didn't come for him right away. So I would just say, be patient, be honest with yourself.
Oh, bravo. What such great advice. What about you, 1C? Any advice?
Yes. It also connects with a video game that I played that made a very beautiful point about walking your own path. But before I get there,
Yes.
connected to where I wanted to go, I would get a lot of comments of how congratulations that you're chasing your dreams, congratulations that you're following through with your dreams. And it's a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful gesture. But something I realized about that phrase is, it's one thing to always talk about your dreams. It's one thing to think about your dreams, but it's another when you pursue the reality of it. Because anyone can dream, but the true measure of that dream will show itself when you pursue the reality. Because the reality is, it's not to say that dreams can't happen, but for dreams to become real, we are confronted with the things that are with the nitty gritty, the part that we feel like we don't want to work, the part where we feel doubt, the part where we feel like I don't want to do this anymore. And as Grant says, when you're dealing with stuff like that, it's not necessarily a wrong thing to experience, but it's the opportunity for you to ask yourself if this is what you want to be doing for the rest of your life, if this is the next step you want to take. And no matter how many people might say one thing or the other, it's just a dream or it's just a reality. This is why I bring up that quote I discovered from a video game saying, walk your own path and everything will fall in line exactly as, not necessarily as you want it to be, but as it should be.
Oh, bravo. Excellent advice to people, because I think sometimes we tend to give up and say, oh, it didn't happen. It didn't happen. Yeah. And thank you. And I'm so grateful to Tom, who introduced us, because this is going to be a great message to go out about Hello Self, because that's exactly what you've said. pay attention. Who are you and what do you want to do? Follow your dreams. And that's what you guys have said today. So I want to say that anybody that wants to connect with it, now to my audience, anybody that wants to connect with Grant and 1C, we'll have links on the podcast when we put them out, some of them that they have shared with me already. We will add that to if there's any specifics that you have given me, like the movie and your Instagram, and I'm going to put that there. Yeah. So because you had both said your Instagram tag, and I think that's where a lot of people connect now. So all I've got to say is thank you so much. And I'm sure our audience is thanking you too. So here's the way we go now. The next thing is we have had a great podcast today, and I am so grateful for these two young men who are following their dream, even though sometimes you almost want to give up. But no, they're telling you, don't give up, follow your path and keep creating it. So I just like to say, this is Patricia Leonard, your podcast host for Hello Self. And remember, as I always say, keep dreaming. Thank you for joining Hello Self today, and may it offer insights and inspire you to stay on your runway to success. Like, share, and subscribe. And remember this, keep dreaming.